Hello and good afternoon. I am Jamie Buckland with the West Virginia Pew Families United for Education. And I have quite a bit to cover, so I'm going to attempt to not ramble and get straight through this. This is a Hope Scholarship update with some extra additional information, but basically the majority of it is surrounding the Hope Scholarship. So if you're not interested in that information, this probably isn't relevant to you. But a couple of things that I want to be sure to cover and go over just so that you are in the know on what might be expected of you if your child is a Hope Scholarship recipient, or if you are a provider working with families, a non-public school or a private school. I just want to be sure that we do a good job in communicating expectations, especially when it comes to compliance, because that can be overwhelming to families who possibly aren't that familiar with submitting notices of intent and so on. So the first thing that I want to go over is the notice of intent. I'm hoping that I can share my screen and actually show you all the form. When I get done here, I have a ton of links to go back and add into the comments. So I'm going to try to link to everything that I touch base on so that you have the information organized in order to access it. So let's see if this works. I'm going to try to share my entire screen and then see if this works. So hopefully you are seeing that notice of intent right now, and you can see that there are just a couple points that I want to make as far as the NOI is concerned. Fill out the date. This should include your county superintendent. And if you're looking for that information, I'm going to attempt to provide you all with a resource to help get that information. For right now, it is best to email info@wvfue.org if you're unsure who to send it to, and we will try to respond to you in the order in which your email is received. So if you don't know who your county superintendent is, sure, you can Google it. You can Google the address. If you are looking for more hand-holding support and guidance, that's kind of what we do here, and we would like to be able to help to the best of our ability. You may just have to wait on a response, but you can reach out to us at info@wvfue.org to find out who to address this to, and then the county, the physical address for the mailing address for the county Board of Education. And then it should be addressed again to the superintendent. So dear superintendent is who you're going to address that to. One thing that you do want to be sure of is that you've completed the accurate year here. I've seen a lot of these over this last year and a half of doing this work. I've seen a lot of NOIs where they are missing the information in this space on the NOI. You want to make sure that this is for 2023 and 2024 so that it's not confused with last year. If your county has reached out to you and asked for a notice of intent, and you have record where you submitted a notice of intent for 22-23, please email info@wvfue.org. Happy to help you figure out your next step. So if they're asking for one from last year, happy to help you navigate that. If you already have one that you submitted and you have documentation that you submitted it, the student's name, date of birth, race, sex or gender, the grade level for the year noted above. Keep in mind, this is the grade they are going into. If they've just completed kindergarten in public school, they're going into first grade, you're going to write first grade in here. This is not the year that they just completed. This is the year they are going into, the grade level for the year they are going into. The WEVIS ID number, if your child has been awarded the Hope Scholarship, that's when you should submit this notice of intent. So if your child has been awarded, if you don't have record of your WEVIS ID number, you can go under the student profile in the portal to identify their WEBUS ID number. Keep in mind, this is not the student ID number that shows up on the dashboard in the portal. They are not the same. So you need to go under the student profile in the portal if you can't find their WEBUS ID number anywhere else and pull it from there. Now for this column. Are they under an individualized instructional program, or are they enrolled full-time in a participating school? This does not include micro schools. If your child is enrolled in City on a Hill Christian Academy, Vandalia Community School, Michael Parsons, our friends in Charleston, Missy Moore, our friends in going to be in Fairmont this year, in Marion County from City on a Hill, or any of the other newly formed micro schools, they are not considered a participating school. They are, you qualify to use them under an individualized instructional program. So again, if you are enrolled in a micro school, you're going to write IIP here, not school. If you're enrolled in a non-public school in West Virginia, or my understanding, there are some public schools that students are attending outside of West Virginia. I don't have specific information on that. Either way, my understanding is if it's any other full-time school, then you are going to write school. If you're attending a full-time school outside of West Virginia, you need to ask them, should you write school here or IIP, or reach out to the Hope office to find out, because I've heard both things. So again, if you're outside of West Virginia, I know that's confusing, but if you're outside of West Virginia, you need to find out if they are set up to receive funds as a participating school or as a service provider. And you're going to ask that to the Hope office, Hope Scholarship WB at WBSTO.com, or the school. Again, that's if you're outside of West Virginia, you need to check with them. If you're in West Virginia, you're attending a non-public school, then you're going to just write school. They do not ask for you to specify which school it is. I will say this. If I were working at the county and responsible for figuring out what your kid did for the year at the end of the year, it would be helpful if I knew where your child was enrolled so that I could make note of it. That's just a personal thing. That's not official guidance. I personally, if my child were enrolled full-time in a non-public school, wouldn't have a problem listing that school. You do you. That's unofficial. I'm just saying. So clear as mud here. IIP are those who are using it to educate at home. You're just going to write IIP. If you're enrolled in a non-public school in West Virginia, easy peasy, you're just going to write participating school. But if you are enrolled in a micro school, or you are enrolled in a school outside of West Virginia, please check with your school. Please check with the Hope Scholarship Office, Hope Scholarship WB at WBSTO.com for official guidance, because I don't have that answer. Then you need to come down here and give the address for your residence, where the student lives, where you live. And then you need to put your name, your signature, phone number and email address. Here's the thing on the phone number and email address. Some people are like, well, is that really required? If we want to improve upon communication, I personally recommend that you do provide your phone number and your email address, because we do want to improve upon communication. So there are some tips on actually completing that notice of intent. Okay, done with that. I am going to Go back to normal here. So hopefully that made sense on submitting that notice of intent. Now, who needs to actually submit it? If your status says awarded, then you should submit that notice of intent. If your status is on hold, then you need to reach out to the EMA team to find out why it is on hold. And you can find that information on their website. So, again, if you have questions, info@wvfue.org. But as far as the NOI is concerned, it is my understanding that that does need to be submitted before they are able to fund your account. I do know, according to the law, your child is not exempt from compulsory attendance until both of those criteria have been met. So not only do you need to have been awarded the Hope Scholarship, but you also need to have submitted a notice of intent in order for them to satisfy the exemption. That's what the code says. Now, in order to get funding, I'm not sure the treasurer's office or the education market assistant, the folks from Step Up are able to fund your account if you've not submitted a notice of intent, because that is how they mark it in the WEVA system. So either way, the only reason you wouldn't go ahead and submit your Hope Scholarship notice of intent right now is if your status hasn't said awarded yet. And I would definitely, we were just like 10 days away from the deadline of when they need to have all those applications processed. Please check your account and see what your status is. And if you have questions about that, of course, reach out to the Hope Scholarship Office. You're also welcome to reach out to us at info@wvfue.org. That's the notice of intent. Second matter of business. We have a lot of people reaching out to us whose children are currently under a homeschool exemption or a private school exemption. And so therefore their children do not qualify were not eligible for the Hope Scholarship during the window from March 1st to May 15th. They're asking if there are any options available for them to earn eligibility for the Hope Scholarship. And if so, then what happens? So a couple things on that. There are 2 virtual charter school options. And there is your county virtual option. Keep in mind, not every county offers elementary virtual, but those are virtual options that you could look into and explore and figure out if it works well for your family. All of those options do qualify you to earn eligibility for the Hope Scholarship Program. And the state code does allow for you to apply for the Hope Scholarship as long as your child has enrolled for 45 consecutive calendar days, has attended for at least 90% of that time, and the child can apply. You can submit a request. Again, we're going to link to all of this in the comments. You can submit a request to apply, and the code does allow for that to be considered outside of the window since they have become eligible. And as long as the eligibility requirements are met, you are able to receive the prorated amount for the Hope Scholarship. So again, as long as you satisfy that criteria, that does earn your eligibility. There's been some confusion surrounding this. Email at info@wvfue.org if you need assistance to navigate that. But there are 3 options, and we're going to link to more information on that. How much money are you getting? $4,482. I think I didn't write it down, but I've said it enough here recently that I'm pretty sure it's $4,482. And that will be deposited on August the 15th. So again, that's why we want to be super cautious and ensure that you have that notice of intent. Okay, I'm looking at $4,488.82. We want to make sure that you have your notice of intent submitted as soon as possible to not delay any of those funds. That was the reason so many had funding issues previously, because the notice of intent wasn't submitted on time. And again, we recommend that those notices of intent are emailed. And we also recommend that you keep documentation of that and ask for a receipt, so you can reach out to that email that I keep talking about in order to find out where you're going to send that to. Keep in mind that we talked about this previously, but we have been made aware that the Department of Education and county boards of education have communicated that they are not accepting the test submission forms that were composed, if you will, and given to you by CHUV, that one of the state homeschool organizations. So CHUV put out a communication. Again, I will link it in the comments. They put out a communication to say that their test submission form that shows the 5 Stay 9 scores and the composite, that those have been rejected for Hope Scholars for the 22-23 academic year. If your form was rejected, feel free to reach out. We're trying to figure out why that form isn't being accepted, and find out if there is anything that we can do about that. We want to advocate for our families. That's our role here at the Few. And so we want to better understand if those have been rejected. We do understand that if you submitted it for the kindergarten assessment, because it did not include science and social studies, then it makes sense that it's been rejected because it wouldn't satisfy the criteria. I'm not saying that the state must accept those forms. I'm just saying I don't understand why they aren't accepting them. So if yours was rejected, we'd like to look into that. Okay, so that's on the assessment form for Hope Scholars under the IIP. If you are a vendor selling a product, if you are a service provider offering a service to Hope Scholarship students, or if you are a non-public school or a private school serving Hope Scholarship students, and you're looking for some more hand-holding guidance and support, we, the West Virginia Few, are making available a subscribed service where you can pay monthly or pay by the year in order to receive exclusive email updates, newsletters, information, and guidance. I want to give you some examples of the way people are using it. One of our vendors who offers an online private school that is not even a Hope Scholarship provider reached out to us and purchased the subscription simply so that we could help tell our audience about their services. And I heard from a family this morning that found out about that online option and has already applied for it. So part of that connection piece is what we want to do here at the Few. So if you want to kind of broadcast what you're offering to our audience, then you would need to subscribe to our member services. Another way that they're using it is if any of their families are having trouble navigating Hope Scholarship, because we aren't currently a funded organization and we don't actually have the staff that everybody was used to from previously, from earlier on this year, we aren't able to offer prompt guidance, individual guidance to parents right now, whether it's with Hope or SSAC. But for our subscribed members, if they send me a parent who's navigating an appeal, who's navigating a late application for Hope Scholarship, whatever the circumstance may be, maybe it is WVSSAC guidance. If the subscribed member has a family, then I do make that family's situation a priority and offer them guidance because their service provider or their school is a subscribed member. So that's another benefit to being a part of the services, the subscribed services. And then just for that exclusive information, I emailed one of our subscribed members yesterday and said, hey, did you know about this? I thought of you when I saw this. And he was like, no, I had no idea, and was able to take care of it. So that's the kind of customized service offerings that we're offering to providers who are subscribed. There is a fee associated. Keep in mind that there's no charge for providers to participate in the Hope Scholarship Program. But this is, again, if you're looking for more of that expertise guidance, we kind of say that we pick up where government agencies and other organizations leave off. So that's the kind of more customized guidance that we're able to offer to our subscribed members. Hope at Home virtual conference. We are, for the next just over 2 weeks, we're going to be hitting this pretty hard because it's pretty phenomenal that we've been able to secure the presenters that we've secured. Some of the top names, if you're not familiar with homeschooling, some of the top names and speakers in the homeschool space are presenting at our virtual conference here in a couple of weeks. And because we were able to secure some sponsorships for that conference, we were able to cut the registration in half. So for $25, you're going to get a week's worth of content Everything is recorded. And I just can't fathom anyone who's educating at home not wanting to at least purchase that and register for that conference to have access to all of that information. I will drop the link to the registration in the comments, and you can look through and scroll through who all of the speakers are and all of the topics that we're going to cover. Lastly, people are asking where our directories are, where the resources are that they had gotten used to earlier this year. Again, we are not currently funded, and so it's very hard for me to do a lot of the extra work that we used to have 5 of us on staff doing. And that's why we're relying on volunteers. If you're interested in helping the West Virginia Few stick around and meet the needs of our families and providers, we'd love to encourage you to fill out our volunteer form, and that will get you connected. We're currently forming 2 parent committees, one for the Hope Scholarship Program, one for WVSSAC assistance. And these 2 parent committees are going to take over a lot of the updates and keeping parents informed and helping them navigate. So we're extremely excited to be able to launch both of those initiatives and really empower these parents who are going to take that over and really own the work of helping people navigate the Hope Scholarship and WVSSAC assistance. So part of that, it will be updating our directories. For now, if you need to know who to submit information to, if you're looking for specific guidance, you're going to need to email info@wveque.org, and we will be happy to answer that in the order in which they are received, to the best of our ability. But just keep in mind, if you have some bandwidth to volunteer for our organization, we'd love to put you to work moderating a Facebook group or helping us with that information. That's all I've got today. Hopefully that helped with the notice of intent. Hopefully that was helpful with the information, the specific information on that. Again, I do not recommend waiting around to submit your notice of intent. I have emailed the legal counsel at the Hope office to inquire, but it's my understanding that if you waited to submit that notice of intent after August 15th, you may experience a delay in funding, and we just don't want to go there again. Thanks so much for watching. Be prepared to come back and scroll all of those links to the necessary information, and do email us if you have any questions. You guys have a great Wednesday.